Hello. I know this video is getting out late today because life is busy. You're bivocational, you know that. You know life happens. I've been praying the last few days, trying to figure out a subject, and I know I said I was going to do talk about the 10 things. Excuse me. I did in the initial video. And so this is kind of related to it. It's part of that island of loneliness. And what got me thinking about this week is because there are a number of day conferences. I know that there are groups that meet throughout the week, and usually it's mornings. Whenever you see it, pastors usually meet at mornings, and that's really a tough thing for pastors to do. And then you have other things that happen throughout the week, and it really becomes tough, especially if you're sitting there and you're doing ministry and things are going wrong. You know, you get the call, Pastor, it's not you, but the church just isn't for us. Stuff like that happens. You get the call, Pastor, you're doing things wrong. I can't tell you how many times I've heard that. And, you know, there are things that go on that you have to push forward to. I like it better when somebody leaves on good terms. We just had a couple of people do that this week and a few months ago. But then we also had somebody leave on bad terms, and it was like, you're doing things wrong. And those are the ones that really get to you. And if you don't have the outlets to talk to work on, how do you do that? And that's the thing. You know, I look at what's going on right now. We have, there are like a number of day conferences coming up that I want to be a part of. Some are scheduled the same day. I have on May 3rd, we already are scheduled for one conference, which one of my leaders has been wanting to do something like this for a few years, and we're excited about that. But then I get a message that another conference is going on the same day, May 3rd, and it's something that I really want to be a part of because it's something that I think we need to grasp a little bit better. And how do you do those things, especially when, you know, your crew, your everything is just kind of not there, I guess, is what I would say. You know, you're trying to build up your team, but, you know, how do you do that? And so this is where we see these things that we are fighting with and trying to do. You know, it's like I'm going on a preaching conference, and right now, because of my illness, I haven't been able to work. So this is the first time in, I think, 3 years that I've known about this preaching workshop that I'm actually going to be able to go, and I'm excited about it. But at the same time, I've got anxiety because, you know, what happens if I could work? What happens if something comes forward? You know, these are the things that we work with and work against. And some people, they have a better grasp at it, and they'll tell you, just you know, do it, just do this, just. Other people, they don't have a grasp on it, and they're giving you 5 ways that this could possibly screw up. And so how do you do this stuff? And this is what the importance of getting to these things and finding out what's wrong. I mean, here's the thing. We all know that revitalization is fairly new. I mean, it's only a couple of decades old, and only probably a decade where there's been some structure and some footing towards how to properly do this. And you hear about the guys that have done it for a while, where they went through all sorts of anxiety and stress and health issues and all sorts of stuff. And then you have bivocational ministry, which, bivocational ministry's been, as we said, since the beginning of the church. But it's something where right now, wasn't there a book back in the past, Men, We Are Not Professionals, something like that? And it kind of gets you thinking to yourself, how do you do this? How do you work? Especially where right now we're seeing 90%, I believe the latest stats were 90% of pastors are bivocational in America. So we got to think about this. We got to figure out, how does all this work for us? And that's the thing. We need to think about, how do we get fellowship? I think sadly, what's going on is we have the structure where no one is really thinking about those who are part-time. There are guys who are, technically we could say they should be part-time, but they're getting enough funding from other areas where they can basically do ministry full-time, and so they want to build up that group. But I really wonder, if in state, the denominations and states, like I'm a part of a state convention, I wonder if those and networks were able to go out there and place surveys and say, where are you? What do you do? I wonder how many people would say, hey, I work part-time, I'd prefer this. I see this right now, the local association that I have, a number of the guys are technically full-time. And the guys that I know that are part-time, not part-time, but, they're bivocational or co-vocational, there's animosity, if I'm honest, because they don't see where things are going on that level to how they can create and help and do all sorts of things to help with their needs and their abilities and so many different things going on. There becomes animosity, and that's not a good thing. Animosity shouldn't be, especially if we're family of God and kingdom builders. We need to begin having a structure. We need to begin doing things that can help those build up, those who are struggling, those who cannot figure out, which way they need to go and how they need to do that. Sorry about the noise. I'm in the studio in the church, and they're structuring stuff for the men's breakfast tomorrow morning. But this is the stuff that we need to do. This is the stuff we need to figure out. I mean, here's the thing. If we cannot encourage and build up the guys that are bivocational, the pastoral shortage is going to get worse, because those are the guys that are leaving because they are struggling. They are trying to build up their churches, and if they are not being fed because they are too busy feeding their flocks, what is going to happen? And this is where I think people are not seeing it. I don't think leadership, and I'm saying leadership across the board, so don't think I'm targeting my own denomination and my own convention and associations. I'm saying this because I am friends with pastors in other denominations and other areas, and this is something that is nationwide. And this is something that we need to begin doing. We need to begin building one another up, because there are so many guys ready to walk away from the ministry. And I know there are people that sit there and say, well, that's wrong, you're called, or maybe they weren't called. But the thing is, let's be honest, if you're in a job and you keep getting beat down by your boss, eventually you start thinking, maybe I need to start looking for something else. And those are the things that we have to be aware of. And that's where I think we're not. We're too busy thinking in that kernel of things are all right, things are good, things are golden. But what we're not seeing right now is how things need to change and need to become better in order for all men, all pastors to thrive. And that is the issue at hand. That is where we are seeing things that are going on right now, where people are leaving because they're feeling like nobody cares about them, so why should I continue? And we see that. So when we see these conferences, the big thing we need to be asking is, what can we do? And a lot of people don't want to add that extra thing to the schedule, to the yearly calendar. But this is something that needs to be done. In all honesty, it's something that needs to be done. We need to begin looking at this from a standpoint, because right now I'm looking. There was another article out this morning that I saw, and it's another one about the pastoral shortage and what's happening. And again, we're going to see the guys that are like, well, maybe they weren't really called. Well, maybe they are. But, guys like you who are sitting there and being critical of them, instead of saying, how can I help? What's a way I can encourage this person? What are some things that I went through that are similar? These are the things we need to be doing. We need to be working smarter, not harder. We need to be being better stewards, better under-shepherds for those under-shepherds who are getting beat up. So, the island of loneliness is a real thing. And if anything, I'm letting other people know, hey, it's out there. But I'm also letting the guys that feel lonely, hey, I know it. Believe me, I'm there right now. I feel at times that no one understands what I'm going through, and that's a sad thing. And luckily, I have a good wife that is that co-laborer with me and helps lift me up. But at the same time, she'll sit there and she'll message a pastor or two that she knows can lift me up out of this. And so that's what I'm saying right now, is we need to be working this way. So that's it for today. I'm going to leave it right here. I'll talk to you all later. God bless.